Alright, so here's the deal. We're experiencing a proper population boom here in Zeeburg. And with that, a bit of a traffic boom as well. So today we'll try to fix traffic the best way possible. Just adding more lanes than either of us can count. A new bus station as well, and the very first bus lines. So if you're excited about this, I hope you'll consider hitting the like button, adding a good vibey comment, and subscribing if you haven't already. With all the YouTube jazz aside, let's just dive in. Alright, so the recent addition of the district of Noville has added almost 10,000 new residents to Zeeburg. And we're pretty much dealing with the traffic fallout of that massive expansion. As you can probably tell, we've got quite a few queues and traffic jams throughout much of the inner city. And today we're gonna try to fix some of that with some truly complex, wacky implementations. So this one is gonna be a lot of fun. And I think starting with improving the connectivity between Noville and much of the rest of the city is going to be the top priority here. Because having a quick look, many of the issues we're currently seeing around the Alexandria area is actually spawned by the fact that too many people are trying to utilize this overpass here as the main connector, and the traffic jams we're seeing over here as well is leading to issues within Oldtown, and this whole thing is just not all that well connected. So my main approach, my high-level tactic here is going to be adding more lanes. So starting right by this massive crossing, we're seeing tons of people trying to make a left here to get onto the Ashford bypass and onto the other areas of the city. And this is causing a ton of issues. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna add more lanes. My main plan here is to grab the 2+1 asymmetric road and pretty much just do a direct connection to the bypass. Gonna make sure it looks nice and curvy, just like this. Then we're going to apply a few traffic rules here so that we make sure you can't make a left here. That wouldn't make all that much sense. I don't want you to be able to make a right here either. We're gonna keep the crossing in place because it probably needs to be an actual traffic signal to work. And then right here, I think we're going to convert this to a medium. Could it be a small roundabout? No, we're going for a medium. So let's go for this version. And then I think we need a bit of tweaking with manipulation mode just to get it to line up. So this is very technical because we've got lots of things trying to kind of intersect with the roundabout, causing issues. So just bringing this back a little bit. And you can kind of see the subnodes here using manipulation mode are kind of crossing into the roundabout, and that can cause issues as well. You can see the markings here are kind of blurry. So just kind of trying to bring some of this back a little bit should help just make this function a little better. Now, ideally, I would disallow the cars in this lane from making a direct left and getting onto the bypass. But that's technically not really possible for me since they're going to enter the roundabout and they can thus choose to get off where they desire to. But I'm hopeful the addition of this segment should cut down the travel time, and I think that is like the most basic calculation they should be making when trying to pick any routes, so hopefully that's gonna be just fine. Oh, and I also need to get our protected bike lanes in place so that we make this transition as easy as possible. And since we do have a dedicated crossing here with traffic lights, it's not dangerous at all. I would worry much more about the actual roundabout because this setup just looks, yeah, it's just dangerous all over. We also see quite a bit of traffic queued up waiting to return to Noville, and mind you, this is late in the evening, so we are way beyond rush hour. So while I love the median and bike protected design we've got here with this avenue with Road Builder, I'm gonna create yet another custom segment where we just kind of steal the median here and convert that into yet another lane. So let's grab Road Builder, click this segment and say use as template. So we're gonna call this, so BP is bike protected, and we're gonna continue that, but instead of a 2-lane, it's going to be a 2+1. then we are going to, I mean, we could technically just reduce the median to 2 meters because that is pretty much exactly what we need in order to get an additional lane in place. So let's just go ahead and try to do that. Now this is more like it, giving us that extra lane for a bit more throughput, but obviously we're gonna miss a bit of grass, which always sucks. As I already feel the instant gratification of simply adding more lanes. We're gonna add some additional lanes. So I think for this purpose, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my custom, a very narrow one-directional road here. We're gonna go for a, let's see, continuous tool, no snapping, elevated segment. Let's get another lane in place. Oh, this is so much fun. So I think this alignment kind of works. Yeah, looks pretty good. Then we'll be grabbing this 3-lane A6 segment. We'll do an upgrade with all snapping just to get an extra lane in place. And obviously I don't want it to be elevated, so this should work. And we'll need a few traffic rules here. So no traffic lights, no traffic lights. We're going to disallow this left turn. We are going to disallow this left turn. And we'll need to get rid of the crossings. And we'll need to disallow this left turn as well. So hopefully this still allows you to move onto the overpass. I'm pretty certain it does. It just doesn't allow you to make a direct right turn. Sorry, we're gonna disallow the right turn, is what I meant to say. Oh yeah, things are looking good fun now. We'll add the dedicated bike lane as well. And maybe we should do the very same on this side. Because why not? Oh, this is gonna get complex. Now, Zeeburg has a history as a city that is trying to kind of prioritize everything. So trying to prioritize not just public transit, but also car traffic. And obviously trying to kind of accommodate for everything is, you know, it's a bit of a tricky one, probably not all that effective. But it's something I'm going to try to kind of showcase throughout the city. So we're getting rid of yet more grass to kind of flip this 2+1 segment so that we can allow for this lane to merge in. Quickly just gonna clean up some of all the trees and decals in place here. We'll get that added in later on. Let's add the bike lane, of course. Let's disallow this right turn, which hopefully still allows you to go straight onto the overpass, or bypass rather. I'm pretty sure it does, so it shouldn't be an issue. And let's see, getting rid of these traffic lights and all the crossings, or at least the ones I can get. And then I don't know if you can make a left here, but I want to disallow that. Oh, you can. So you can kind of see the markings move in to showcase that now you can't. So that's perfect. What a beauty. Now, before you ask or make a suggestion, I know I have the wonderful traffic mod with the lane connector tool on hand for things if I need to, like if things are going to get more complex. But for now, I like to just kind of stick to the, I guess you could say, vanilla stuff and see how far I can get with that. And then I can obviously run into situations where I'm just going to be too limited and I'll need to use the traffic mod instead. Which is fine because it's a wonderful, wonderful mod. So just a bit of manipulation mode here to kind of drag out the intersection a little bit. If there is a final thing I might attempt, it would be converting the final segment of the overpass to a 2+3 configuration. But I definitely don't want it to be this massive segment, so it kind of depends on whether I can actually break this into 2 nodes. If I can, then that's perfectly fine. I'll just grab this one and let's see, it's probably, yeah, it's this type of segment, but obviously it's elevated. Actually, no. Oh yeah, it's a custom segment with protected bike lanes. That's right. So which one is it? I don't know. I'm gonna grab it. It's the protected bike lane 4-lane version. Okay, cool. So we'll just do something like this. Try to get rid of this node. And I think that sort of worked out. So that's nice. Gives us a bit more flexibility and capacity in terms of where you want to turn as you enter this crazy intersection. we're gonna be super lane mathy and add this segment as well for a bit of a slip lane, just because that's a bit more fun. And then I think it's time for a small time lapse to kind of see how all this is going to pan out and actually function. I could stare at this all day. So much fun. Now I know there is a mod allowing you much greater flexibility and control of the actual traffic signaling. The thing that's kind of putting me off is that it does store some data in the actual save games. So there's no guarantee that your save won't be corrupted, as far as I know at least, if you have to remove the mod or support of the mod stops. So I'm trying to kind of postpone that and just wait and see if things get a little more stable. And I guess for now I'll have to live with the slightly weird vanilla traffic light facing. Yeah, we can see it in action. I guess this is what you call induced demand. Add more lanes and people are gonna show up. In all seriousness, traffic would hopefully have looked even worse if I hadn't added all these lanes, but they will continue to monitor the situation. It's definitely getting pretty busy now. Anyways, with this mess completed, I've got another mess to make of this area right here, because there is a massive issue with the current traffic setup. So Oak Grove Street is technically the main arterial cutting through this part of Noville, which is a really dense area, lots of businesses, lots of residents as well. And it kind of just ends in this waterfront road, which isn't a high capacity, as you can probably tell. So what we need is a complex connection from Oak Grove Street onto the bypass, so the segment running underneath this overpass. This is gonna be so much fun. So let's just pause the game and get rid of a few of these segments here, because I need a direct connection from what is now Bluebell Street. City Skylines 2, never change. Onto the segment right here. So yeah, let's see. Let's just try this one out. So I need this connection in place, and I need to connect directly onto maybe about here. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna add another node here, otherwise it's gonna be a proper mess, and we wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want any messes in this episode. And then I am going to attempt to connect with a curvy bit into the new segment. I think I'm using I am using the right road. Okay, so that's good. I'm just gonna upgrade these segments here without it being elevated. I don't think that's gonna be necessary right here, at least. Getting rid of this node, obviously. And we've got an issue here because I can't have this be 2 nodes. It can only be 1. So I'm gonna get rid of this segment as well and just kind of reconnect these 2 and get rid of this walking path as well. Then we're going to reconnect the regular street. This is probably going to see some alterations and be turned into different street types instead of this 2-lane configuration. But the most important thing is just the main connection for now. Then we can always do all the good upgrading stuff. Now, it was very important for me that I connected to the existing node here, right where the overpass segment ended, so I didn't get the double node system again, because that's just gonna be a total mess. Quickly just re-adding our dedicated bike lanes, of course. And then I think we'll actually do a downgrade here. So we're going to downgrade this to a 2+1. So technically we are removing a lane by doing this. But that's because we're gonna add more lanes. So don't hold your breath here. I'm gonna grab the 1-lane, 1-way road. Actually, let's grab this segment here, because that's probably about as narrow as things can get. I still need the bike lane in place. And then I am definitely going to do something crazy like this. Oh yeah. So this needs a dedicated bike lane and this needs a double dedicated bike lane. And I'll definitely need to get rid of at least a few of these crossings. I think this one can no, that's gonna leave as well. Over here though, we're going to, I think, add a few crossings because this definitely needs to be a traffic signals intersection, otherwise it's going to explode. Now manipulation mode is telling me that this subnode is way too close, which is causing this weird angle, and I could probably just kind of configure this a little bit just to make it all look a little nicer. Bring this, oh, there's too much with this, so let's just keep that as is. And another troublesome node is this one here with the pillars. So I have to kind of move this back just a little bit so that the pillar is clear. And that seemed to work out fairly easy. We're gonna follow this up with a pretty special technique where we I'm just kidding. I'm gonna add another lane. Yep. So let's get rid of some of all these walking paths, all of this park stuff getting in the way, and add this extra lane. And we're gonna follow this up with a bit of lane math, so making sure that we've got a bit of a slip lane segment for the additional lane, just like this, and then probably using a 2+5 as well, just to kind of have the lane math check out on this side. Something like this, and then we could kind of flip that, so you've got an extra lane in a 2+5 configuration, sorry, 2+3 on this side as well. Obviously, this is going to require a few traffic rules, so no lefts, no crossings, and no traffic signals. The same deal is going to be the case down here, no crossings, no weird stuff, and no weird left. And then we will need a dedicated bike lane. I think we need another lane. We need a direct connection from this direction here onto this intersection. Oh yes, we do. So elevated segment, no snapping, branching from maybe about here, I'd say, and just making this connection. Yank. It's a little close here, so manipulation mode, just gonna bring this node back a little bit. Just like that. That looks pretty nice. We'll get our dedicated bike lane in place. We're gonna follow all the classic steps now. So disallowing this left, obviously. And let's see, we'll disallow this left as well. Oh yeah. Things are really starting to shape up. Oh. We need to follow some lane math, don't we? So we'll grab this 3-lane asymmetrical segment once more. Not elevated though, and I'm just gonna try to align this as well as I can. This looks about right. Plop. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Looks a little weird here due to the parking, so I am kinda tempted to bring the bike lane. No, I'm actually just gonna keep it as is. Does add a bit of character, doesn't it? Oh wait, we'll do something else. We'll just add a grassy median on this side. Oh yeah. And then I think this transition is a little sharp, so just moving into manipulation mode just to kind of drag out this node a little bit. That's much more smooth and seamless. Oh, and it seems like there's a traffic signaling here. Let's get rid of that. Gonna add another change, but this one is just gonna be visual. No more lanes. So road builder, gonna grab this very regular 2-lane road, and we're just gonna turn it into a narrow version. So basically I'm just gonna reduce the width of the sidewalks as much as possible, so to about 3.5 meters. If I go any lower, I'm gonna start to see some weird clipping issues. That's just a game limitation, I think, more so than a road builder limitation. But this certainly helped, made it a lot more narrow. I'm gonna, of course, grab this one, and I'll do the same for this segment. For another visual change, I'm really considering changing the overpass segment here to an actual bridge span, so that we get the bridge structure and pillars in place. We're gonna give it a go, at least. So filtering for bridges, I think we're just going to try the vanilla 4-lane tied arch bridge, because this is not a highway segment bridge. So it should integrate seamlessly with the existing road we're using here. Should, at least. Hopefully we can use Move It to also bend it a little bit. So let's just make sure we get as far back as we can on this side, so that the span isn't too big, because I'll also need to kind of hide the pillars somewhat. And I mean, I think that kind of works, to be honest. I think that looks pretty nice. We'll get the dedicated bike lanes in place, of course, just so that I mean, we allow for that mode of transportation, and so that it looks a little more seamless. And yeah, just a bit of Move It stuff, that should work out. I can hopefully add the tram tracks as well. I don't remember. Yeah, I can. That's good. So, I mean, it's a little bulky, but I think visually it's a nice addition, because I have so many of these overpasses, and they, you know, they get kind of samey to look at. It would be so cheeky to actually curve or bend the bridge segment, but maybe that would be bending reality a little bit as well. So yeah, pun intended. So I might just see if I can slightly alter the actual approach here, so that we make sure we have all the bendy stuff we need before you get onto the actual bridge span. I don't know, I kind of feel that would be a little bit more realistic. One thing we will be doing though is just grab the segment and trying to just kind of move it up a bit, so that it has a bit of a bendy bit, which I think also makes sense since there's a bit of an incline on both of the approaches. While I've definitely been chopping up Concordia Park to make room for all these extra lanes, it's gonna continue being a bit of a mess, because I don't want to clean it up just yet. I'd much rather just see how this functions. So let's grab another fun time lapse. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but it's just so much fun to just kind of stare and see things in motion. If you enjoy the same weird thing, let me know in the comments, so I'm gonna feel less alone. Alright, so I think what we're gonna do now is just sit tight for a few hours of in-game time and see how this spaghetti mess actually handles rush hour traffic, because it's technically 4 in the night, which I guess we could kinda showcase by just bringing back the time to thereabouts visually. Which, oh man, that does look quite nice. I always forget how nice it looks at night in this game, because it's not ideal to build stuff at night, so I usually just don't utilize it. But yeah, as I said, we're gonna see how traffic is actually handled during rush hour, and I think in the meantime we'll be expanding the urban fabric of Concordia and maybe even Noville as well. And this is based on some recent feedback in YouTube comments, but also over on my Patreon, suggesting that the central station of Zeeburg, so this late 1800s development, could use a bit more medium and high density stuff around it to kind of feel more like the prime inner city station here in the city, now that it isn't actually located in the Oldtown. This will of course require a compromise, and namely the demolition, I guess, of Concordia Park, because much of this is going to be turned into medium density developments, and then we'll be adding some very modern stuff, I think, right next to the train tracks, as is so common. I have to start by getting rid of Concordia Park, then adding in a few narrow cozy streets and roads, then filling it in with some old, beautiful architecture, mainly from the German-themed region pack, but maybe a few modern assets as well, especially at some of these corners that have been kind of carved up by modern infrastructure. Yeah, so I guess it's fair to say that I did a bit of experimentation with the height differences here, adding some more modern complexes and some pedestrian paths to kind of connect the different levels of this part of Concordia. Pretty fun, and I think it turned out all right. The rest of the new parts of Concordia is pretty cookie cutter, German-themed region pack buildings, although probably pretty upscale, some really beautiful architecture in here, some nice open plazas and whatnot. And I think overall, zooming out, the addition of all this new development really helped with the initial mission of just having the station feel a little more central, like in a more build-up environment. And as more time has passed, it's become very obvious that we've got some proper traffic bottlenecks alongside Noville Avenue, as I have appropriately named it, I feel. So the main issue is the necessity of these traffic lights here due to how the tram interaction with this avenue actually works. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, as one of you fellas pointed out in a nice comment as well, because it's just, I mean, it becomes a dedicated segment here anyways, so yeah, it's pretty problematic. Now I'm tempted to see if I can squeeze in this custom road builder segment here. I mean, I guess I know I can, because I can always just kind of make the rail overpass segment a little longer, or wider rather, so if I do something like this, that might just work. I mean, it's not perfect, but we're just gonna try that solution at first and see how that kind of pans out. And I think we can maybe do an upgrade to this segment as well, but we're just gonna continue the 2+5 asymmetrical configuration we have. And that's mainly just to kind of have the visuals be a little more streamlined. Can I specifically? No, I'll have to do it without any snapping. All right, we'll do that then, just like this. So I guess we don't actually need the crossing anymore, which should really help with the general throughput of this area. Another unintended quirk, I guess you could say, is that apparently the large bicycle parking hall is close enough to this avenue for an actual connection to be in place. So people are literally biking in free air, which is fun, but yeah, it's a bit unintended. But I think the bigger issue is that I have two massive bike parking halls right next to each other, and I'd much rather have a local bus station here at the old central station. And this is going to be a bit of a compromise, because the, I guess, quote-unquote main bus station is currently located in Zeeburg, and it's like a 2-minute walk from the station, so it's not terrible. But I think it would be nice with a small local station right next to the train station, so we're gonna get rid of this bike parking facility, because I think we might just be able to squeeze in a small bus station here. It's gonna be a real squeeze, but you know, that's kind of the fun of all this. We're also just gonna commit to any upgrades of this bike parking facility we can, because we've definitely just removed quite a bit of capacity. So the bus station I have in mind is almost a perfect fit. It's the small bus station. It doesn't quite fit, but I mean, I'm kind of tempted to just maybe encroach a little bit on the parking here for the train station and just kind of see how this goes. So yeah, let's try this out, okay? I think I'm going to place it. I don't want people walking on the train tracks, obviously, so I'm gonna place it here. And then we'll need to kind of figure out this connection, because I imagine this road being pretty important for the buses to actually get to the station. So the current intersection here doesn't really work, because it's not gonna allow for connectivity, as the buses will need to enter this segment here. So I think the easiest solution is probably to, let's see, how can we actually do this? I think I don't really mind having this segment still in place in some capacity, but maybe just an additional segment to connect this up, which might just turn out a little too complex, but I think it's worth a shot. Might be fun. So I'm gonna try to grab the dedicated one-way public transport lane, and then we're going to attempt an additional crossing here, which once again, complexity is fun, at least in my mind, but kind of bending realism here a little bit, I guess. But I mean, complex, overly engineered, expensive infrastructure, it's just fun. And if there's a bit of German in this city, then over engineering is, you know, it should be part of the DNA almost, so why not? It is causing a bit of an issue here because I think we'll need to have this entire segment be elevated, yeah, for that to make sense, which is going to, I think, cause connectivity issues with one of the high-rises. Okay, so the compromise was to switch out one of these functional office towers with a static blah blah blah, so this one doesn't really do anything, which is a bit of a shame, but it does provide a bit more freedom in getting it placed and whatnot. And I think this additional bus segment might just work for what we need. And I hope I don't cause any pathing issues by adding this blind lane to the entrance here. It's basically just to kind of have like a proper entrance to the bus station. I'd love to add it on this side as well, but that might just be pushing it. I'm gonna try and just see how that looks. I mean, it looks the part, which is the most important thing, right? So if we just call this bus entry and we call the other one bus exit, I think that'll work out all right. And yeah, once again, hopefully nobody actually utilizes this to make a weird U-turn, but you never quite know with the traffic AI in this game. But I think that looks pretty nice. Now, I think one thing we might do as well is add a key to this segment. You know, this transition here is a little more subtle. It's not subtle, it's pretty dramatic, but you know what I mean. I also think I need to, at the very least, kind of key these additional segments of the rail tracks for this to kind of make sense. That should allow the terrain to be a little more flexible. And there's a few pedestrians kind of clipping through some of the pillars, which I might fix, I might not. For now, it seems to work just fine. It is a little annoying though that the main bike connection moving into town underneath the tracks here is now gone, because I can't upgrade with double bike lanes on this specific road builder segment. So I'm going to see if I can create one which will allow me to do so. So if I just select the segment over here and click this one, is that all it takes? That is all it takes. Okay then, pretty easy. Fortunately, the railway nodes are all kinda lined up here, so fixing the pedestrian clipping issue should be fairly easy, just bringing this back just a little bit. There you go. Alright, so far so good. Now we need to get some actual buses out in the city. So I think the first bus line is going to cover a bit of a stretch that isn't super accessible through the current tram networks. So I imagine a line with a couple of stops in Noville, moving underneath the rail tracks, for a couple of additional stops in Concordia, one of them being at the actual small bus station. Then we're going to move across the armory with at least 2 stops in Oldtown, one in the primary section here and one in the like really old section out here. And I think my approach is going to be just kind of mapping out the actual route with the bus line tool and some waypoints before adding any stops, because I'm pretty certain that all the one-way traffic and complexities of Oldtown is going to force us to at least upgrade a few roads to be bi-directional, because otherwise the buses just won't be able to reach their destination without having to do like massive additional segments, which obviously isn't all that ideal. Well, that's the idea. Anyways, we'll see how well this works out. So grabbing the bus line tool, we're gonna start at the small bus station. Then we'll need 1 additional stop in Concordia. And since we can't get onto the overpass, it is probably gonna be one of these smaller streets. So I think we'll just be adding a waypoint right here. Then we're going to cross beyond the armory and into Oldtown where we might even do 3 stops here, but we'll see space-wise what makes the most sense. I think we could add the first one on this side street close to the cathedral. And this is where the issue is really starting to happen, and you can probably tell by how the route is trying to kind of make its way. I have way too much one-directional traffic in here, and as long as you don't really have to plan for heavy traffic, or in this case public transit, it's not much of an issue, but obviously I'll need to fix some of this. So what I think we'll do is we're basically just gonna see if we can move to, I guess, this segment right by City Hall, and then we'll add 1 additional stop right next to the old fortress structure, I think. Maybe here. Now we basically just need to move back, but doing so should also highlight the issues with the one-way traffic here in Oldtown, because I don't think I want to stop right here. I probably want it on this segment so we can kind of move through this area. I mean, just look at this routing here. Yeah, that's pretty wild. We'll add an additional stop here. And then we should be able to kind of make our way back to the bus station without much issue. Although I do have to be kind of careful here with how we're actually going to enter the station. But this is where I think the additional little overpass segment here is really going to come in handy, because yep, that is going to allow us to move in here. Now I don't want to complete this route because it doesn't stop and end at the small bus station. That's not the intention anyways. It is going to cover a bit of Noville as well. Because we only have like the main Noville Avenue being covered by the tram network. So I'm just gonna add 2 quick stops. Once again, we're technically just adding the waypoints and not the stops. So I think this is all gonna pan out a little better when we start adding the actual stops to these places. And I think that is about it. So let's just bring that in and complete the line. Just pause the game so we can start making this whole journey a little more bus commuter friendly, because it turned out about as messy as I had initially expected. So I think the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a bit more in terms of a dedicated bus transit lane here. Now I can recolor this with a pretty cool mod, which I'll showcase in just a moment, the same one I utilize for my bike paths. But I'm just kind of trying to map out how to make things feel right here. So I think this is about the extent we'll need currently. We could probably do this as well, since this is a 2-lane, 1-directional segment, down to about this space, which I think is nice. Moving on to the first planned stop, let me just bring up the bus line tool again. We've got the 2 waypoints here, and I think this is about the very same street I want the actual stops to be placed. I have a couple of options, as I've downloaded some Singapore-style bus stops from PDX mods, but these don't really conform all that well to slopey terrain like the one we've got here. So I may just try to utilize the vanilla EU themed bus stop, because I think that does conform. I'm actually not quite sure as I say that, so I'm just gonna try to place 2 on either side. Yeah, it doesn't fully conform, does it? Let me place that and have a look. It's really hard to see if it's actually floating a bit, so I think that kind of works. So now we have these 2 stops in place, and we can grab the bus line tool, and we can just grab the 2 waypoints we've already created and just kind of drag them onto the new stops here. For reference, this is called Ember Shade Street, which sounds like such a high fantasy World of Warcraft thing. A little odd, but okay. Grabbing the bus line tool, let's move on. So it seems like making this intersection is gonna be just fine. I mean, there might be a few queues, but otherwise it's gonna be fine. Then, wow, this looks weird. So hopefully the buses aren't going to specifically navigate in this pattern, because that's gonna look very wonky. Then we move into Oldtown, where we should be able to easily place a couple of stops here as well. But I actually think we're gonna move closer to, closer to this segment of Oldtown here, because then we can also kind of serve the armory a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. And this might just be a case for the Singapore, sorry, themed bus stops. If there's enough space. I've got a tiny, a medium, a large, and a huge version, which I think is just really, really cool. So I can grab the medium one and it just kind of moves into a building facade, which, yeah, it looks a little weird. But it also kind of looks like an awning to the existing building, which I don't think is too bad. And then I think over here, we're just gonna add it right here. So that looks pretty cool. I don't mind mixing up the types of bus stops a little bit. I don't need a fully uniform design. Maybe some of them have been renovated and others haven't just yet. Once again, we're gonna grab our waypoints just to make sure that we're serving the stops we've just placed. Mistwood is also so Lord of the Rings of the game. Moving on, this is where things get a little complicated. So it seems like, I mean, okay, so one issue is you can't make a lift here. So we can just quickly get that fixed. So we'll just make sure you can. Hopefully that immediately kind of upgrades. Yeah, that does update the pathing, which is perfect. That it happens in real time. And then the issue here is obviously all the one-way stuff. Like you have to move all the way down here to actually enter this segment of Oldtown from this direction, which, yeah, probably isn't all that ideal. So I think I'm just gonna grab a street to get this upgraded. And I might just about even be able to get this angled parking 2-lane road in place. It's a little wider, but not by much, honestly. And it keeps the parking in place as well, which I think is a cool feature. So let's get that added. And just make sure we don't have too many of these weird crossings everywhere. And for these really narrow one-way segments, we are going to encroach just a little bit on the available sidewalk space. I don't think there's any way around that, but I think that's fine as well. I don't really mind. Obviously, the dedicated bike lane takes up a bit of space as well, so that's also something to keep in mind. But we're just gonna bring this segment all the way down here, try to align it to the best of my ability. I think the pathing hasn't yet updated, but I think it's because of this waypoint. Yeah, as soon as I removed that, it got updated, and it's now kind of following exactly what we want. So let's get a stop right by the city hall, I guess you would call it. So we'll grab the medium Singapore styled shelter. We're just gonna add that on either side. So there's a bit of a park on the other side, which I think is perfect. Grab the bus line tool. Where is the, I guess we'll grab this waypoint and we'll just create an additional one. I'm not really bothering with dedicated public transit lines or lanes rather here in Oldtown because the traffic really isn't bad here. So far, we've had luck directing traffic outside of Oldtown. But obviously a lot of factors, including the location of jobs and whatnot, plays into this. But if it works and it's not broke, I'm not gonna attempt to fix it. Let's see if we can just get a medium shelter in place here as well, or maybe just a tiny. No, we'll grab the medium one. Get that placed and get the waypoint set up. Then we're just quickly doing a flyover, or basically a little sanity check, just to make sure everything looks all right. I'm also checking if any of the turns would be too sharp for the buses. That's hard to really avoid at sometimes, especially at the tiny bus station, but just seeing if there's like something obvious we can easily fix here. But so far so good, things are looking pretty decent. Then it goes to the station here and it goes into Noville. Now it's a bit of a round trip to actually get underneath the overpass and the rail tracks, but that's just a feature here, I guess, by now. So let's move on to the actual district of Noville. Now there is some pretty heavy road builder usage out here, so we might encounter roads which we can't upgrade with the actual bus stop shelters, but let's just grab. Seems like we can do this segment at the very least, which I think is really nice. So we'll just add one on either side right before the roundabout. Now, interestingly, that didn't remove the parked vehicles, so it's going to be interesting to see how this stop actually pans out, or how the buses behave here rather. Yeah, we'll kind of have to follow up. I would expect the parked stuff to actually be removed, as is usually the case. Now, where is the other waypoint? It's down here, but I guess technically you could have a stop here and on this side as well, just for good measure, since it is making this round here, kind of circling the entire neighborhood. We'll have a stop in front of the church at the very least. And here it wants to use the median, so we're gonna have to utilize a different type of road for this specific segment. Now, if I recall, this type of road is 3 units wide, and I simply upgrade it to be 4 units wide, adding an additional lane. It seems like that's probably just the easy solution to this one. We'll have to get rid of the bushes in the center, of course, and then we can add our dedicated stops. So if there was a case for using the large version, this might just be it. So we're gonna have a shelter on this side, but oh, the shelter in front of the train station, the train station, the actual church, I'm gonna go with a medium here as well, I think. It's looking a little wonky, and then I need a quick surface adjustment. Should be fairly easy. Wait a minute. Yeah, okay, technically I didn't need the actual shelter in front of the church, since we aren't going to have this be an actual station just yet. But I guess having it all prepared for it is nice. So I'm just gonna add the like a small bus stop sign instead, I think. Something like this, because we are eventually going to utilize this when we expand this line. The only reason we are doing this weird loop is because this is kind of the terminal currently for this line. So let's do an additional stop out here just for good measure, and I think we'll do it all the way down here by this segment. Cool, I think that's about it. So right before we hit play and get the very first bus line activated, which is pretty exciting, I'm just going to showcase the road visual tweaks mod, which is what I'm using to, well, tweak the road visuals. So I think for this one, we're gonna go to configure bus lane. Now right here, we can change it to, currently it's reflavored, but we can change it to the red one, for instance, which is the completely vanilla one. Or you can kind of change the texture hues, the brightness, the opacity and smoothness, and all kinds of different stuff. I actually think I don't really mind the vanilla one, the red one. I'm just gonna check that one. Yeah, that looks about right. And we won't really have any more dedicated bus lanes before it's really necessary. I'm super scared of adding them to Noville Avenue because it's such a high traffic corridor, and I still don't know how much of the traffic is going to be funneled into our bus network now. But there's only one way to find out, so let's see. Let's move out to our bus depot, and one thing I want to do here is add the electric bus maintenance upgrade so that we can grab the EV buses for this new line. So I'm going to grab the Colossal Order electric bus, I think. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna try that one. We'll see how that one looks. They kind of follow the theme of the Colossal Order Tram vehicles then, which I guess is kind of nice. And I think color-wise, that's fine. We can go with this light blue, and now let's see it in action. So it looks like they might stop at the very first stop they can reach, which would be Fox Hollow Street. So this is gonna be interesting because this is where I don't know how the buses are gonna act. They're not gonna do anything. Okay. So they're not gonna act, or maybe it's just because there are no passengers on that actual stop. That could be the case as well. I wonder if we are seeing passengers here though. So I'm looking forward to this segment. Although this feels a little weird. Where is my stop? kind of disappeared, isn't it? Unfortunately, there seems to be a bit of an issue with the Singapore-style bus hubs I've utilized. They seem to have been pretty much disappearing throughout much of the city, at least some of the roof texture, and I don't know if it's because they encroach on other assets, but yeah, I'm gonna replace them with the vanilla ones just to kind of be sure. It's just a good chance then to use the new bus shelter with some bike parking next to it. I've also just realized why my wide suburban road acts the way it does and doesn't remove the parked cars to make room for the bus station. Although that looks to be the case here, it actually isn't. It's because I have dedicated parking lanes. I don't have the parking as a feature of the sidewalk. Which I think is fine. That's kind of the look I want to keep. I really like this wide suburban road. So yeah, I mean, the easy solution is going to just be to commit to this particular upgrade so that we have a dedicated segment in place instead. And then I'm going to utilize the double public transit lane just to make sure we have dedicated bus and taxi lanes here. Now, as you can tell, that causes a few pathing issues because this is technically a wider road, so it widens the entire roundabout, and so these corner buildings aren't properly connected anymore. So to fix this, we're going to add some additional nodes on either side, and we'll just downgrade them to the wide suburban road. And hopefully the bus station is still located in the correct spot. Otherwise, I'm just gonna quickly re-add the sheltered stop with bike paths as well. And then we can get rid, I think, of these additional nodes. Now that looks pretty sweet. Okay, so I've now finally cleaned up all the bus stops with the vanilla counterparts. I have even named the bus line the Zeeburg Transit Network B1 for buses, Noville, Oldtown, and we've got the first vehicles approaching their very first stop. But seeing as I've just changed this, I don't know if any people are actually gonna queue up. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. And whoa, where are you going? They've got a bit of a mind of their own. So it's gonna take a little while, of course, for this line to kind of settle. And we'll see just how many passengers we can expect. Hopefully this should reduce the traffic, because that's very much the point of this exercise as well. So I'm hopeful we won't see too many buses getting stuck underneath the train tracks on Noville Avenue. But I think we're seeing our very first passengers as well as their doggo enter the first bus here. Very nice. So let's just ride along and we'll see if there are any like major hiccups or oddities or other issues. So that wasn't too bad. I noticed a bit of odd behavior at two interesting spots. So one was at the roundabout where I don't even know what's going on here, but this stuff here kind of looks a little weird. I'm hopeful that I can just kind of grab and add an additional waypoint, and that is pretty much gonna be it. I mean, it looks right. So yeah, fingers crossed. Another interesting point was the turn that not only the buses but the truck right in front of them tried to make here. It's like it made half the turn, then it kind of backed and tried to make, I don't know, that looked pretty weird. Maybe just kind of dragging out of this node a bit with manipulation mode is all it takes. Just kind of making the this intersection, just making that bigger, basically. I'm hopeful that might just be what we need. So yes, something like this might be able to fix it, but otherwise it seemed like it just kind of worked out. So it's going to be interesting to see just how much activity we're going to be seeing on this first bus line. Now, as we know by now, the routing around the massive intersection here is just a little odd. So I think a compromise we could do, something we could do just to kind of make it at least feel a little nicer and a little more bus friendly would be to just get a bit more in terms of dedicated bus lanes in place. So we're gonna dedicate this one-way segment to buses and taxis, and we'll just do the very same for this entire segment leading across the road here, leading across Noville Avenue, I should say. I mean, I think that's gonna help just a little bit. We might even, let's see, we might even kind of upgrade this segment and get a dedicated bus segment in place. Let's just try that, see if we can kind of squeeze that in without making this segment too wide. And it kind of looks like this might just work. I also don't know, I don't even think we just need to kind of flip this segment, I think. So we'll just grab the very same type of road that we've utilized here. Yoink. And then we're just gonna flip this over like this, and we'll add, oh, I can't add the innermost lane as dedicated to buses, but with a little tweaking I can. What am I going to call this? BRT, free lane asymmetrical road. So what I basically just need to do is just select this middle traffic lane and just say shared car and bus. And that is pretty much it. That should allow me to specifically select that lane for, oh yeah, okay, so it's gonna select both because the outermost is also shared, so I'm gonna get rid of that instead. Just kind of downgrade that to a regular vehicle road. I can't upgrade with trams, so something I need to keep in mind if I wish to do that in the future. But now things are looking all right, so we'll just get this to a dedicated bus segment. Yeah, I mean, it's something, right? Another thing I want to change before we wrap up is the reversal out of the tram parallel station that we currently have configured with the most recent tram line we added. So currently the tram lines will reverse out of the station when they go on to a new route, and yeah, it's causing... It works, but it is causing a few hiccups, and it is slightly odd behavior, especially since we have already created a loop segment for the purpose of kind of, you know, looping around the station and getting back onto the line. Hopefully I should be able to just kind of drag it, and that should work, but it is a little complicated. And once again, this is actually based on a nice suggestion from one of you fellas. So let's see if this will work. We'll of course be checking if it actually worked. So we have the first CTN free tram moving from Noville. It should stop at the station, then make a loop to move across the bridge to Alexandria, but let's see how it behaves. So it makes the stop, which is good. That's the first part, and let's see if it loops. It does seem like that's the case. I wonder if it tries to stop again though. And what do we have here? So this is another tram, but in the opposite direction. So this one came from Alexandria, made a stop, and it's also making the loop, it seems. And this one didn't stop. Okay, so it's a little confusing, but it seems like it's actually working now. And this one is making the loop as necessary. Then it should cross to the other track. No, wait, it should just move directly underneath here to Noville. Okay, perfect. Alright, so the last traffic change I want to make in this episode before wrapping up with a bit of detailing is mainly just a visual change. I'm going to grab the historic station to Zeeburg new station train line, and I'm going to select a fully custom train model by the legend Bad Peanut. So it's going to be the Transperth A series, and I think I'd like the 4-car set. So I'm going to select that and deselect the current stock. And then of course we're going to jump right over to Zeeburg's rail yard just to kind of see how this train is looking. It should look fairly nice though. I of course did a bit of an inspection on PDX mods before I grabbed it. So here we've got it. Oh, that is so cool. And I don't know what Transperth is, but the name tells me it's like a citywide line of some sort. It's a pretty nice fit here in Zeeburg as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see that out there on the only commuter train line we currently have available. But as I mentioned, that's going to be it for this episode. It was a fun one, and what a mess I've made of some of this stuff right here. I know it's a little crazy, there's a lot of pavement and asphalt here, but I don't think it's completely unrealistic. For a major city, we are only going to see more traffic here, so if we can just kind of optimize it a little bit or make it a little wacky, then we're all for it, usually, on this channel. I'm gonna wrap up with just a bit of detailing of some of these intersections, just using a few net lanes, some surfaces, maybe a fun pattern in here to kind of signal that you can't actually park your muscle car here. Something like that should be fun, I think. And then I think we're gonna transition directly to some cinematics. So as always, thank you so much for all the support and wonderful feedback. I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.